Now, of course, it's okay to say, I'm sorry. When you make a mistake or you do something wrong, you can say, I'm sorry. But sorry is really overused in English. It's so overused that sometimes it can seem a little meaningless. You see, people use sorry all the time. They apologize all the time for lots of different reasons. Sorry I'm late. Sorry, I forgot to bring the, sorry. And because of that, I'm sorry can feel a little less meaningful. Sometimes it can feel like you don't really care, or you're just saying sorry because you feel like you have to, not because you actually mean it. So when you really need to say sorry for something that you've done, maybe a mistake that you've made or some problem that you've created, well then it's a good idea to use a stronger expression, okay, to show that you really mean it. And today I'm going to share some more meaningful ways to say I'm sorry, some meaningful ways to apologize. Now, we're going to give you a few different options to help you build your vocabulary so that your English sounds more sophisticated and more meaningful. Let's focus on some different ways to say I'm sorry. One of the hardest things about apologizing is admitting that you've done something wrong. Socially, it can be quite an awkward situation, right? It's one that makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Now, if we're talking about a small problem that you created, perhaps you provided your colleague with some wrong information. It was an accident, but still you're at fault. Then it's absolutely fine to say, my mistake. Just own it, you know. It was my mistake. I made the mistake. So you can actually say, oh, my mistake, instead of saying sorry. Now you can also say, my apologies. My apologies, I made a mistake. But if you want to tone it down a little and you want to make it a little less formal, then you can also say, my bad. This has become a really common expression used to admit that you did something wrong in less formal situations. You're late for the meeting. It started an hour ago. Really? Oh, my bad. I didn't have it in my calendar. And so it's like, oops, oh, that was my fault, my mistake. You just own it, you know? You don't really need to say sorry as well. You're just claiming the mistake as yours. And these are all great options if the problem you created is not a big one. Like if you were supposed to make a booking for you and 10 mates at a restaurant and you forgot, and when you get there, there's no room for you. That's a good time to say, oh, my bad. Don't use my bad when the mistake is pretty big. Like if you forgot to invite your grandma to your wedding, don't say bad. That wouldn't go down very well. It's kind of a bigger problem than just, oh, my bad. So in that situation, you would need something a little more meaningful, okay? Sorry or my bad just isn't quite enough. So you could say, Grandma, I owe you an apology. I owe you an apology. Or, Grandma, I want to apologize. All right? Both of these expressions are used to show that you're serious and that you're genuine about your apology. They're a little more formal, so they show respect to the person that you're talking to, and they're really useful in the workplace, okay? In the office, when you need, to sound professional and maybe a little bit more formal, then these are great options. The other thing to keep in mind is that both of these expressions need an explanation. Why are you sorry? You could say, I want to apologize for something, right? I want to apologize for my behavior last night. I want to apologize to someone, okay? I want to apologize to your sister. Now, the difference between to and for here is super important. These little prepositions are a little tricky. So for the grammar rules and more examples about to and for, then I want you to check out this lesson right here. It's all about to and for and when to use them. But it's important to explain why you're apologizing with these expressions. All right, let's think of a more significant problem that maybe you created now. You might need to write a formal apology, for your behavior or for the behavior of a family member, something that you really regret. Or in a professional context, when your mistake has resulted in a significant problem for your customer or your company. Well, in these situations, you need more formal language that's going to help you express just how deeply sorry you are. I sincerely apologize for my behavior, for my actions, for the trouble that I've caused. Okay? You could also say, I take full responsibility for whatever's happened. Okay? Now you might even take it one step further and say, I'm embarrassed about what has happened, or I'm ashamed of my behavior or my brother's behavior. I'm really embarrassed. Now, it's more common to see these expressions used in written English, like in emails and letters, but in professional or quite formal situations, it's acceptable to say these expressions directly to someone. Now, don't forget that these ways they're quite formal and they're quite serious ways to apologize. So if you're a little bit late to class, it's probably a bit too much to say, I sincerely apologize for being late. I take full responsibility for my actions. But if you accidentally slept in and you missed your final exam, well, then this kind of language might actually be useful for you. You might be able to convince your professor that it was an honest mistake, and maybe you can repeat the exam. So I hope that you've learned some new expressions and phrases during that lesson to help you sound more sincere and more sophisticated when you apologize in English. Don't forget that you can practice your natural English expression and pronunciation with me. The link is in the description below, and it's really easy just to grab them and try them out. Thanks for watching this lesson. I will definitely see you in the next lesson. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon.